The talk will be about the dead man switch, a safe, holding hostage $45 million worth of art as an insurance over the life of Julian Assange. Please welcome Andrei Molodkin and Arianna Mondin.
So today I would like to share with you the experience or transgressions or something like how it was a functions idea that we keep in hostage the important part of art history to protect life of Julian Assange. So these ideas was and I would like to share with you how we come for these ideas and how we realized it. So for this project was involved so many people. First of all, it's many artists, many collectors who donate their artwork and who form this part of art history. Of course, it was the help of incredibly great technicians like Peter Stay here and many other persons who was in urgence working with this project. So I would like to share with you, as everything was finished well, I would like to share with you the way how we find this language, the method, and everything about it. So I would like to start. With the idea that finally Julian was free. He came in the studio and he completed his drawing, and now the method of the transgressions and the ideas how to use the art or how to use the culture as a really weapons, it's a really revolutionary weapons, and how to be in the same level of negotiations with the power structure. So I would like to start from beginning that I consider myself as an artist during I was in Soviet Union as a militarist service. So I spent 2 years in military service, in which kind of I was convoying the big or different militarist equipment from the place of productions to the place of dislocations. So 2 years I spent on the train, sometimes 24 nights and 24 days to take from the Kharkiv and to bring the big ballistic missiles in the place of dislocations like Vladivostok or other things in extreme north. So I was knowing the way how the layout of the weapons moving and how the power structure or government use the weapons, how they believe to keep peace. So they have many weapons in Russia, and then they thinking that by these weapons they keep a balance with the state to keep a stable peace ideas. But during these 2 years, it's something start to be changing. So I not accept to be like a mechanical drone or robot, which kind of can go to see your family or mother only in the situations when you can shoot someone as to be a good soldiers. So that's only reasons you can go to see your family. So my friend was really seriously humiliate or repressed. So if you not accept to be just a drone, mechanical drone, so once when we go for the militarist restaurant to eat in the early morning, I saw that they pull his body on the road and he shoot himself because he can't to keep the pressure, and the blood line staying during the maybe in 50 meters was his blood line because his heart was still go blood out. So it was a really shocking idea. So in that time I understand that he was somehow great artist, which kind of show that his last signed, which kind of everyone remember, and this red line is still staying in front of me. So I would like to start from this point and to show how the artwork was developed, as I have this experience of militarist experience, and let's tell that power balance and transport these huge ballistic missiles. So I would like to show for you a few fragments of the video, which kind of it was a practice before the Deathman switch. So this is its. So for instance, this one, it's 25 years ago. It's a project about blood and oil and about war in Chechnya. So it's blood of the Russian soldiers and Chechenian crude oil. So.
أيها الأسد ألا هب إلى حومة الحرب بعزم الشهداء أيها الأسد ألا هب إلى حومة الحرب بعزم الشهداء فرددوها الله أكبر الله 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 أكبر الله 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 أكبر الله 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 أكبر الله 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 أكبر واضح الحق لكم فابتدروا
It's okay, we continue, it's good. No problem, we continue like this because anyway we have so much time. Because after I have to speak for you and because I forget.
فارفعوا أعلامه بين الملا تشهد الأرض إليكم والسماء فارفعوا أعلامه بين الملا تشهد الأرض إليكم والسماء ورددوها الله أكبر الله الله الله
That's a big sound, huh?
الله الله
But it's okay.
أكبر الله الله الله
So this project, it's about two vessels, leave it. Two vessels, which kind of, you closed it.
Sorry.
Leave it until then. So this project, it's about two vessels and about price for oil. So how many, what's the price by the blood of the oil and how much oil we has to price for oil in the blood, so kind of this. So another project, this one we can go a little bit quicker. Not so loud.
أيحسب أن لن يقدر عليه أحد يقول أهلكت مالا لبدا بسم الله الرحمن
So after we show Binance, that's all. It's okay.
أيحسب أن لم يرى
Go on.
Those who served through the ages have drawn inspiration from the book of Isaiah.
So, and then in all these projects, so the ideas was to connect the life of people and their participations in the, and to risk. So this is, for instance, it's a blood counter, so the White House, which kind of filled by the blood of American people or people who died in the conflict. So the idea is that it's every time moving and the counting the air strike, what America do for another country, or now in the conflict we have it everywhere. So from this point, I show that some fragment which kind of finds the method to connect the human life and power structure, and how we can negotiate or how we can communicate with the power structure as Gorgon and Medusa, which kind of per se killed by the mirror shield. So the urgence and ideas of the Desmond switch was find that Julian Assange was keeping as a hostage, unlegal hostage kind of, and someone who changed the way of seeing and understand informations. And of course, WikiLeaks, it's the most important influence for all artists in the past time. So that we understand that it's an urgent project which kind of we has to do. So participation in this project was necessary of many people. So, for instance, Arianna, she will explain for you after how it was how she finds the people who help for us to negotiate, like a real militarist who was really hostage negotiations. And the ideas of this project was simple: to take important part of art history, to keep it together with a destructive element, and to explain that if something will happen with Julian or he will die in the prison, so that all this part of art history will be erased from us forever. So it will be even no trust on it. So we understand that this is its way for power negotiations and with the power negotiations. And of course that everyone before speaking that free Assange or we care about it much, and to tell that he can die in the prison, it was a really seriously step for everyone. And we speaking long time and understand that it's only these ideas to place the life of human in front of the important art history, which kind of evaluated and approved it. So it's only this way can let us to try to maintain the negotiations. So maybe the ideas of the counter was that every 24 hours the counter will go until 0, and then when it's stopped, and if someone will not reset this counter, which kind of stay in the hand of someone who responsible for Julian, so the explosive element will functions and destroy all artwork. When we get inside these situations, we understand how we didn't expect how seriously it was. So maybe Arianna, she can explain the way how we find people who help for us also for...
Yeah, most important is that we realized in a moment that we were really dealing with a real negotiation. We had on one side $45 million of artworks keeping hostage, and the US government was keeping hostage Julian Assange. So in a moment when we realized we realized that we needed some professional to deal with the human life and the valuable artworks who was kept inside the safe, ready to be destroyed if something happened to Assange. So we look for some professional negotiator, and finally, after long research, we find people who were busy with the war in the Middle East and 20 years experience with hostage negotiation in the Middle East during wartime. So it was quite shocking for us, this experience, because when they were explaining their experience and how it could happen, and it happened in the experience that some hostage really died. So sometimes it's not successful, the negotiation. Sometimes the life was lost. And it was stressful for us this moment, because we realized we were touching life and death. And so they help us with the communication, they help us with keeping the tension and the escalation. For example, we had a live stream camera inside the safe, and everybody was able to see real time. It was somehow the heartbeat of Julian, because every 24 hours the counter had to be resetted, otherwise the disrupted element was activated, and this was in real time visible. So this was
so somehow it was a really connections of this destructive element and all this part of art history with the life of Julian Assange through this counter. So that it was really physical and emotional and stressful contact. So when you see this counter every day in the live stream, and the people or we start to be so stressful that we don't know if it will be reset or not. So it's really start to have a connections with the human life. And Peter, he technically finds the ideas how to create this counter and how to connect it with everything. And it was really surprising element. So he can explain these things now.
All right, yes. So I was asked to join this project, and I started thinking about how can I get a GPIO across continents. So what I ended up doing was I built two identical systems, one inside the safe and one at the remote location where somebody does the confirmation. And so they need to be in sync somehow. They need to communicate. What's the sort of regular way that we distribute time? Well, one good way is NTP, right? It's quite popular. So that was my basis, and the two systems, they have the same time, and the one with the button for resetting the timer, it maintains. Well, both of them, they run the same software. They both maintain the current offset to the time of day, and then just run the countdown. When somebody presses the button, there's a signal that the button has been pressed, and so the timer will start over and will not in fact start the destruction. of course, it's important to distinguish between there was no communication and there was no button press, right? Otherwise, some kind of network disruption by accident or on purpose could perhaps cause the trigger.
Put few times.
That we don't want. We want to avoid that. And finally, of course, there was also a manual override. So for sure, it's also another layer of security in case. But yes, it ended up working, and we had these two systems interconnected through an onion service. I thought that was somehow fitting, also. And yes, I'm just very happy to have been part of this project. I think it turned out really well.
Thank you, Peter.
Yeah, thank you. The contribution of Peter was
Really
important.
So, and of course, that continue these things, it was really seriously story to find these 5 great safe in which kind of we keep these things, which kind of can support the destructions in detonations and not have affected for the building outside. And we spending so long time to convince the collectors and the artists to give their work, and this was really psychological experience. So many people, of course, refused, and after someone returned back and accepted. For instance, the most iconic sentence, it was made by the Italian dealer collectors and very famous family, which kind of donate one of the most valuable artwork by Picasso. And then he have many people who asking him about it, and he tells that we have so many Picasso in the world, but we have only one Julian Assange. So this one was really sentence which kind of start to change in the situations. And of course that to work with the death of persons and to keep the hostage, it's keep so many stress. And when we start to do this project 2 weeks before, I think that the hearing for Julian Assange, and when already many press out, and the first was out, the New Yorker, and during 2 weeks it was like maybe 300 publications around world, which kind of was shocked by this idea that someone tried to destroy the part of the art history. So it was Navalny, he died in Russian prison. So it was very tragic situations, but in the same times, it shows the equal or balance or the same situations, that one dying in prison for his political view, and another can die in prison for just the publications and to telling truth about the world. So somehow these situations escalate the communications, and the power structure react quite nervous on these situations. They don't want comparisons, but all media start to compare the situations. So in this kind of context, the Europe and Russia start to be the same country which kind of don't have democracy and have a political prisoner, and these ideas start to be in the center of any discussions about it. So I immediately draw a double portrait, Julian and Navalny, and then writing that in prison, die in prison, but in the empty place of the die in prison of Julian, it was an empty place. But after I understand that it's not enough hope on it, and then it was a drawing portrait of Julian released from the prison, because everyone needs a hope, and we believe that situations with everyone can be changing. So in all these conversations which kind of I do with you today, so it's very important for me that it was a fine language in which kind of with the moment of the transgressions of informations to move in the territory of art, it can be really effective instrument and effective things for changing the reality, or at least maybe not, it's too pathetic to tell changing the reality, but changing the perspective. So for instance, the amount of publications, it still continue now to produce, and the biggest museum in the world, like one of the biggest museums, like Saint Georges Pompidou, have in 1 year around 100 publications of international press. So this project have more than 350 publications in 1 month. So everyone aware about these situations, everyone worry about these things. So we receive so many different letters from the museum curator and the collectors of the artwork, which kind of was angry or confused and tried to understand what can be happened, why we can place these situations and can destroy the part of art history for the life of the person, so to protect life of the persons. And after some very famous journalist, like very established, and he writing that he don't want to know anything and to be part of this project, very angry, because he against to destroy art or books. But what it was surprising that Julian answered for him himself that now it's the biggest taboo to destroy art, but not a human life. So this sentence, it's also start to be part of this project. And you can tell, you can read some letters which kind of people and how they confused and how they...
Yeah, because it's interesting, as Andrei already explained, during the process of convincing people to donate eventually the artworks in their collection, or artists to donate their work, somebody say yes and then said not, somebody else said not at the beginning and then they accepted it. So it was a long process, and after that we received many letters from collectioners mostly. And for example, I read you some sentences from one of them, because they point out the conflict that this was generating. This is a collection, he has a collection of Picasso, this man who's writing. Now, let me ask you something. Who gave you the power to decide over an artistic inheritance that belonged to all of us? Not even the owner of a Rembrandt can arbitrarily do with it as he, she, they please. Destroying art is not only shameful, but egoistic. And then at the same time, he explained that the project posed to me as a two-way street, either a cry to maintain fame and impress a dull audience by being scandalous, which is not even original these days, or it is something more, something of value. I do not think of you as a stupid person, Mr. Molodkin. On the contrary, I think of you with respect. Not only you are fighting for a man's life, but you're doing so. But by doing so, you have placed us, art lovers, in a complicated position. I must then confess, not only did I find value in your project, but I felt personally challenged. So this is one example of reaction, and then we had other reaction much more angry than this one, and we had to confront also with this. This was also part of the negotiation process we had together with the society, and so the power structure.
But in the end, like for art history, this process and this work start to be like a portrait of Julian Assange. So it start to be sculpture. It's not about destroying art, but it's to save the life of human being in our ununderstandable or catastrophic time. So that again, so I show for you the method and how we come for this method. And I think that the language of contemporary art, it's or culture or anything, it has to think in how we can stop the war, how we can save the life of Palestinian children, or how we can do something. It's not about the pleased our eyes, but it's a made the questions for moment in which kind of we live, and to find the language which kind of can be equal with the time. It reminds me that some Dadaist artists, they ask Lenin that he is not enough radical, in which kind of he answers that I try to be radical as a reality. So this is what we show for you now. I think that we can have a...
Yeah, maybe I show the video of...
Yeah, show video more.
Just the happy ending.
And few of them.
Wait, I take down. And then we can go with questions.
So this is its idea that Julian, after his release from the prison, he come and they feel the empty place of his date, and this date it starts to be so important. It's 24 June of 2024, so that it's somehow shows the moment of this transgression. So in this time, this portrait it's exposed in the National Gallery in Sofia with the name of Julian and
as art, as co-author.
Yeah, like co-author. Yeah. So this is its all ideas of the contemporary culture. So now I think that
you're
ready for the questions.
Maybe I put. Okay, this.
All right.
You can like
we have exactly 6 minutes for questions. So if there is any Q&A, and I see one from the signal agent.
Like these pictures. Yeah.
I will leave.
One second. Are you ready?
Yeah, we're ready. Yeah.
So you have to look straight in front of you. Yeah, go ahead.
All right, thank you very much for the interesting talk. We have a question from the Fediverse.
All the way last time.
Which is, could you please elaborate on which pieces of artwork were in the safe? Did you really hold hostage expensive artwork and locked it in there? And which part did your project play in the liberation of Julian Assange?
So the ideas of this artwork, which kind of we keep in the safe, we try to understand, and we made a research which kind of artwork can be favored for the actual American administrations, and actually for the Hillary Clinton or Hillary Clinton daughter, because they're quite influential in this idea. So we spent it many times to find really seriously valuable work as Andy Warhol, Rembrandt, Picasso, and many contemporary artists. With the publications, with the first publications in the New Yorker magazines, we spent 2 weeks to give for them all documentations and proof which kind of show which kind of work we have inside and which kind of value we have.
And the
so
contract
they can't
with the people who own them, or the artists.
So we need to prove transport, security, value, and authenticity of the origin of authenticity of work, so that we collect and we have to convince them by these documentations. So that's the first exclusive materials come in the New Yorker, and it was really changing many things in it, because it was really established as a fact-checking in it.
Okay, mic number 2.
Hi,
yeah.
We have a question. The first one I'd like to ask is if the situation would be similar with Navalny, and now he's dead in prison, would you have destroyed the art?
You know, I never thinking about it, because first of all, it's two different situations, but it's a political prisoner, and it's very important to compare the situations when Navalny he died. But yeah, I think that it's all political prisoners show that we don't have a democracy. So to answer for your questions, if we will destroy art for Navalny, maybe, but we not made this project for Navalny, we made this project for Julian Assange.
Mic number 2.
Okay, I assume you are familiar with the action from Just Stop Oil, spilling tomato sauce on a glass pane which protects a painting, but of course the press really like to emphasize that they attack the painting directly. So in terms of communication, because you want to express something with art or with actions, what kind of communication strategy do you think would have been better to improve the outcome of that action, or what kind of reaction of the public or the press has surprised you in that action? Because I think this is a very similar case in terms of playing around with destroying art and saying on the one hand we value art more than human life.
You know that it's a very, I have these questions many times, but with a long term of experience of this language, it's made such a difference with Just Oil, because I know their work. Because in this case, we built an artwork. So the complex of this artwork, so in the combinations of the 16 artwork with the 29-ton safe and the half year or even much more working on it, we built a contemporary sculpture which kind of connected with the Julian Assange life. So his heartbeat, it's a beating of the counter here. So this what I explained today is that it's not about to destroy work, but it's to connect it with a human life and to build a new work and new communications in it.
Mic number 1.
I think you've already kind of answered my question, but I like the alternative negotiation strategy. Now you're doing it to keep somebody alive. What about extracting information from governments that they don't want to reveal, like, for example, Jeffrey Epstein's list? Have you thought about doing an artwork about that? I'd be interested to know your strategies.
I don't know much about it. Yeah, I know that they have Jeffrey Epstein, so they have so much information, and it's a kind of a blackmail, and then he keep these informations to manipulate the to manipulate the power. So it's a different way. So this one, it's direct confrontations with artwork and to produce artwork. So we tried to show that we was showing that to keeping Julian in prison as a hostage, it's a criminal act. So we tried to create the similar understandable language for the power structure.
Okay, mic number 4.
Oh, hello. Thanks for the talk, first of all. I had an implementation question. You mentioned you accounted for failures on the network connections. Did you also have some redundancy on board? Did you have dual computers or something like this? Thinking,
yes.
Your classic capacitor failure.
Yes,
that you were experienced.
Exactly. Yes. There was 2 pieces of software running on this board, and they had to be in agreement for anything to happen. And they also were. They don't run the same software. They run different software, but have some conditions that they have to. Both have to be in agreement, and this also on both sides of the network connection.
Thanks.
So, yes.
Number 3.
Hi. There's a Dutch work called Bakunin's Barricade, which is a barricade that is physically has a bunch of precious artworks attached to it, and the artist had a contract signed with it to explicitly allow it to be loaned out to activist movements if they needed to place valuable artworks in between themselves and the police. And in 2024, this request was made, and then the museum intervened to say that the prestigious artworks would be removed or replaced with replicas, which directly against the artist's wishes. So I guess my follow-up question is, what would you have done if a powerful institution attempted to intervene to prevent this from occurring on behalf of, say, the risk of the artwork?
Can you ask me? Maybe you can answer me.
So actually we,
You can.
so he's asking what if somebody tried to prevent the destruction of this artwork.
And you have 30 seconds to respond to that.
So it's the same, we can explain that actually.
What?
So in the French law there is also...
Yeah, because by the French law it's a criminality to destroy the artwork. So it's it was a big work, and with of course security and many things. So because we understand that in some act you can be criminal by the state. So the place was secure, it was a private place, and we have to prepare many paper and many contract to be untouched in these situations. Yeah.
So yeah, there was this question, as the French law doesn't, but we had to be prepared for that. It's all this process of working with professionals was very important in all the fields. So
to involve many professional people and group of people who can be responsible for the part of it. So this project, it's like really connected.
And all the contracts we did with people donating the artworks, this was also very important for these points.
Okay, thank you so much. Sorry, I have to kill it. Please reach out to them after the finish of the... Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.